Hianu, because it is the first night.
I can't.
You will thank the Lord for having kept the two of you alive, and having sustained you, and having brought you together for the season.
I can't.
You will.
8 Nights by Jennifer Maisel follows a Holocaust survivor from the moment she arrives in New York in 1949 through to the year 2016 as she builds a very, very diverse community of friends and family. The playwright is a woman named Jennifer Maisel, who I've collaborated with for almost 25 years. In 2016, after the 2016 election, several people that she knew were tweeting out the manifest of the St. Louis, which is one of the German ships that was carrying Jewish refugees to the US, that got turned away from the US, turned away from Cuba, turned away from Canada, and sent back to Germany.
I was hopeful that President Roosevelt would answer the cables he was sent, that he would be kind, that some country would be kind. But they sent us back.
She was reading the manifest of all of the people and what happened to all of those more than 900 souls on that ship, and she was reading articles in the New York Times from the 1930s where there was all of this ugly, hateful speech about the Jewish problem. And she was at the same time reading fairly ugly, horrifying hate speech in 2016 in our own country about the Muslim problem. And when the Muslim ban went into effect in this country, and there were Syrian refugees fleeing from Aleppo, she said that she knew she had to write something, and she knew that she was going to begin it with a Holocaust survivor, and she was going to end it with a Syrian refugee. And at the same time, what she told me was she had always wanted to write a Hanukkah play. What she realized was she could tell 8 nights of Hanukkah over 8 decades to tell the story of displaced peoples who need refuge, and the promise and the hope of this country, and the ways in which we must do better.
Rebecca! No, it's all right. No, there is nothing to... Who is there?
Eric, it is me, my...
Aaron, just a minute. Just a minute. Rebecca, it is my friend. It is all right. It is our friend. Those things don't happen here. They won't happen here.
Last February, as we were sitting together as an artistic leadership team making decisions about the season, was at kind of a high point of anti-Semitic violence and anti-Semitic hate speech in this country. And we decided that it was extremely, extremely important to tell this story now. In particular, it talks both about the uniqueness of the experience of Holocaust survivors, but also the universality of persecuted people, and the experiences that Black Americans, Japanese Americans, LGBTQ Americans, and Muslim Americans face. And we felt like this story not only would address the alarming rise in anti-Semitism that we were experiencing and are experiencing in this country, but it would also create bonds and unity that are there and should be there.
Theater does that. You're experiencing it together. You're alive in the room together.
It is a universal story of persecution, and it is a universal story, I think, of healing and the power of finally speaking your truth and telling your story.
The world, it moves forward.
Not always. Not for us. Not without struggle, and not in a straight line.
Yes, but we marched with you. Aaron and I did. We marched, and the Civil Rights Act just signed. Progress. So much progress. The world will not slip backwards.
I would like to think that, sir, but that...
But that can't be true.
this play does a really great job about taking different cultures with very similar experiences and bringing them together. And the kicker about that is we try our best to be empathetic to everyone and to everyone's experience, but it's different when you actually experience it. So there's this line of we are in support of you, we are in alliance with you, we understand you, and then the other side of it is, but you didn't go through it, or it's not happening to you. I think we are, as a human race, we are a lot more similar and have a lot more in common than we do on the opposite end of that. And I think this play explores that in a very unique way, in a very beautiful way, in a very non-overused way. I think it's very refreshing how you see it, and you see these different people with similar experiences become best friends over decades.
Ty just turned 18. It's become worse since he enlisted. Benjamin is furious.
I don't want him to see what I saw.
Oh, but he won't.
You don't know that. You don't know. You didn't know what we were going to see until we saw it. And then, in the nightmares, he's too late for everyone.
In the show, I think we are also exploring themes of trauma and how to deal with it. Or if you deal with it at all, or what happens if you don't. My character, Benjamin, he has a line where he says, we didn't know what we were gonna see until we saw it. Yes, you did some good, you did a lot of good, but there are things that you saw that will never leave you. That is a reality of war, and it's a reality of history.
You didn't obliterate hate when you liberated the camps. You couldn't. You were just men. Just boys, really. Both of you. There was only so much you could do, and you did everything you could. But we know it is not ever really over.
Rebecca.
Something that at Detroit Public Theater we actually take a lot of care and a lot of pride in is the way we engage with our audience, not just during the show, but also after the show. Because when the shows are over, and when we have told a story that has impact and deep meaning for an audience, it is important to us to continue the conversation and not leave people with nowhere to put all of the questions and all of the thoughts that have and all of the emotions and catharsis that they have experienced. And so we hold very, very actively engaged post-show discussions.
And I just have to say that it was so beautiful and so moving.
There've actually been quite a few children of Holocaust survivors who have visited and joined us in this storytelling and this experience. And so many people in the audience have talked about feeling very seen as children of survivors, watching the relationship between the daughter and the granddaughter and Rebecca, who is the survivor.
Then also, I think people from other backgrounds who have other types of people who have sought refuge in this country, who have come here and left their homelands and had those experiences, also see their stories reflected on this stage.
But you and me, we are
imperfect.
compared to you and your mom.
My relationship with my mother. Who knows what that would have been if we didn't go to Auschwitz, if we didn't go to Dachau. I might have been as spoiled and discontented and as normal as you.
Mom.
We did the best we could. We didn't have a choice.
Theater communes us even closer and brings us as a community, and also helps us see each other in a way that we don't get to see and hear and listen and communicate. There just aren't that many spaces where we're with people who aren't like us, honestly. And theater allows us to come together with people who have really different lived experiences than ours.
It really addresses the way all of our stories are connected. And it really, truly builds empathy. It truly encourages people to look at someone else's story and say, I see myself in that. Time and time and time again in this play, because there are so many different identities represented. Somebody who you thought couldn't be more different than you. Suddenly you say, oh, this is all connected. This is all the human experience. I think there's beautiful hope in it and beautiful healing in it.
Watch One Detroit, Thursday at 7:30 p.m.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.